This fountain still has the same water coming from the aqueduct that was built in the year 19 BC. That's 19 years before Christ. So this is a 2,000-year-old public works project. So don't ever tell me that Rome isn't a sustainable city, because here's the proof right here. The Trevi Fountain is one of the most famous sites in Rome, and you're no doubt going to see it when you're here in the city. It's definitely covered on the Rome in a Day tour, but I suggest coming back, hanging out, because there's so much to see and do in this neighborhood, and that's exactly what I'm doing today.
The Trevi Fountain is no doubt one of the symbols of Rome and something you should definitely see while visiting the city. Today, I'll give you the formula to have an authentic experience in one of the most touristy neighborhoods of Rome. We'll see world-class art in one of the most underrated galleries in all of Rome. Check out a 2,000-year-old war memorial, and I'll give you my tips on local places for lunch that serve authentic Roman cuisine. We'll end the day with an aperitivo right here in the Trevi Fountain neighborhood. So stay tuned, because there's much more to see in this neighborhood than just one fountain. The Trevi Fountain is an iconic landmark in the heart of Rome, close to the ancient heart of the city. Once you see it, you should know there is so much more to see and do in this neighborhood. Palazzo Barberini is a 17th century former palace belonging to Cardinal Maffeo Barberini, who later became Pope Urban VIII. Today, the former palace houses Rome's National Gallery of Art.
I'm at the Palazzo Barberini, which is Rome's underrated yet greatest art gallery, and it's here in the Trevi Fountain neighborhood. I'm gonna go inside to check out masterpieces by Raphael, Lippi, Bernini, Borromini, Titian, El Greco, Holbein, you name it, they're here. I'm gonna meet my guide Maria inside, because that way I'm gonna make the most use of my time and get the quick highlights. So let's do this thing.
Tickets can be purchased at the door, but I recommend purchasing them online ahead of time. Since I'm taking a tour with Maria, my tickets are already taken care of. The first piece you will encounter is the giant staircase designed by Gian Lorenzo Bernini shortly after the purchase of the palace from the Sforza family. There are a couple of key pieces in the collection by the 16th century master of light and dark, Caravaggio. He lived during violent times and was a violent man himself, and he painted the biblical scene of the beheading of Holofernes by Judith not long after seeing a public execution himself. The gruesome scene depicts the beautiful widow Judith decapitating her Assyrian captor as her maid looks on. Other works include Christ and the Adulteress by Tintoretto, The Baptism of Christ by the recognizable long figures and crowded dramatic scenes of El Greco. Don't forget to see the bust of Pope Urban VIII, who purchased the palace when he was still cardinal in 1625 from the downtrodden Sforza family. There is also an exquisite piece by the Renaissance darling Raphael called La Fornarina. He depicted such a beautiful young woman that centuries later, art historians are still debating whether it was his lover, a prostitute, or a local baker. I wasn't expecting to see this famous portrait of King Henry VIII of England by Hans Holbein here, but I'll take it. The haunting gaze of the portrait of Beatrice Cenci is one you don't want to miss. Her look is a foreshadowing of the tragic fate that would meet her in 1599 when she was publicly executed after being condemned for having rebelled against the physical and sexual abuse imposed by her father. Caravaggio himself was at the execution and painted his own beheading scene shortly thereafter.
So we're at the famous staircase that Borromini designed, and he only designed it as a consolation prize. Maria was just telling me that he was a student of Maderno who was in charge of designing Palazzo Barberini, and when Maderno died, the commission went to not Borromini, but Bernini. So Borromini lost out, and the consolation prize was these stairs, and that is interessante. Interessante.
If you like this video so far, or if you just love history as much as I do, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and smash that bell so you can find our next video. Via del Corso dates back to 220 BC and runs north-south, connecting Piazza del Popolo all the way to Piazza Venezia. Well, at one point, horse races were held here. Today, it's one of the main arteries of the city with some of Rome's most fashionable stores. Just off Via del Corso, in the center of Piazza Colonna, is a 2,000-year-old war memorial. If this was any other city, it would be the star attraction. Here in Rome, it's another historical element. The huge 2nd century column and its reliefs depict the victories of one of the greatest emperors of all time, Emperor Marcus Aurelius, over the barbarians. Within Piazza Colonna, the big important palace houses the offices of the Prime Minister's deputies or cabinet.
Okay, grazie mille. Look at this, a present for me. And they're so warm. They smell amazing. I mean, this is the beauty of being in Rome during this off-season time, because you get these street vendors that are warming the chestnuts. I mean, it just smells extraordinary. Nice and toasted. You know, usually they're not going to give you any to taste, I think, because I got a camera guy and I'm lucky.
While it's not part of the Trevi Fountain neighborhood, but since it's my favorite espresso in Rome and super close to Piazza Colonna, I have to stop for coffee at the venerable Tazza d'Oro.
So I don't take it with sugar or anything like that. It's just, you know, one quick down the hatch experience for me. Ah, so good. So hot. Boost of energy I need. Now we're ready.
If you're planning on eating near the Trevi Fountain, you should know that there is a high percentage of tourist traps in the area. But don't worry, I got you with some gems of where to eat near the Trevi Fountain. Piccolo Buco. This is my #1 Trevi Fountain pick for a great, cheap, fun meal. The style of pizza is Neapolitan, which isn't Roman, but honestly, it's that good that you have to try it. Sora Lucia. This restaurant is a stone's throw away from the Trevi Fountain. They serve typical Roman cuisine, and that means slow service, great food, and decent pricing. Trattoria al Moro. This one is a little on the fancy side, so you'll get excellent service and fantastic food. Definitely make a reservation at this Roman classic. If you like to explore cultures through food like I do, check out our super fun food tours in the description below. In this neighborhood, and all over Rome, you will see small public fountains that you should not ignore. And let me show you why.
The Romans were genius builders, and the public works projects that they put on benefited everyone in the city, including fresh drinkable water in fountains like this or in fountains like the Trevi Fountain. You know, this thing here is called an azzone, which is like a big nose. So you can bring your own water bottle to Rome, fill it up, saving the planet.
Thank you.
By not using plastic. If you don't have your own water bottle, you can just plug this like this, and now you have your own drinking fountain. Like a shame-o, I forgot my water bottle at the hotel, so I don't have my borraccia with me. There's free fountains all over Rome, and you definitely want to bring your own water bottle as you're walking about. So I'm just going to have a quick drink of water, Roman style, and be on my merry way. Marcus Agrippa built an aqueduct in 19 BC to channel fresh water to Rome for the people. And this is the remnants that we see today. So we see this like amazing, beautiful, Baroque sculpture and fountain, but you know, it has so much depth to it. And we see Marcus Agrippa way up there and in that other panel there. So the story is that Marcus Agrippa was returning back from battle, and this young lady founded water in a spring and showed the soldiers where the water was.
Marcello, come here.
and he decided that that was absolutely great, and then built this aqueduct to channel the water from there all the way to Rome. You have the statue of not Triton, not Neptune, but as my tour guide told me, it's Oceanus, and which is a completely different god altogether. And as I like to say, it's interessante. Interessante. You know, Romans are very, very superstitious, so I gotta make sure that I come back to Rome and make my wish. There's a certain way of throwing the coins in the fountain. One coin means you'll definitely come back to Rome, and maybe this has worked for me. 2 coins is for love, and 3 coins is for marriage. So let's see what we're gonna do.
To hear more stories like this from a passionate licensed guide, check out our Rome tours in the description links below. The Aqua Virgo Aqueduct is one of Rome's oldest aqueducts and feeds the Trevi Fountain today. That's over 2,000 years after its original construction. To see a good piece of the aqueduct, you need to walk about 7 minutes from the actual fountain. You will find a small alley behind a restaurant and a small gap between buildings with a big fence. Lo and behold, you will witness 2 huge arches with a trough on top where the water gets piped in to this very day.
It's definitely time for another aperitivo. Well, that's it for the Trevi Fountain neighborhood. I'm glad I came back and explored this neighborhood a little bit more in depth. Definitely had more time at the fountain, went to Palazzo Barberini, walked around, saw a ton of stuff. So cheers.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and smash that bell so you can find our next video.
The spectacular Trevi Fountain is one of the most The spectacular Trevi Fountain is one of the most iconic sites in Rome, and there's no doubt that you want to see. You can just plug this like this, and now you have your own drinking fountain. And then you can make a mess out of yourself too.